Welcome to How to Become an Empowered Empath. I'm Wendy De Rosa. I'm the founder of the School of Intuitive Studies, an intuitive energy healer, an author, a teacher, and also I'm going to be talking today from some concepts in my book, Becoming an Empowered Empath: How to Clear Energy, Set Boundaries, and Embody Your Intuition. So, one of the reasons I have wanted to write this book is because I come from history as an intuitive healer with an awareness of what occurs in our energetic system, what happens in our energetic body that contributes to people taking on the energy of others. And I thought that if I could convey this information, it would really be a game changer for people to understand why they might be taking on the energy of others. So, I want to start out first by defining what an empath is. An empath is someone who feels the energy around them through their sensory body. And that means that they might walk into a room and feel the energy in the space. That means that they might have a conversation with someone interpersonally and feel like that person walked away feeling great and they walked away feeling like they just took on all of that energy. Empaths will feel that they take on the world. They'll go into a grocery store, they'll walk out into the world, they'll just be engaging in social media and they feel impacted energetically. But here's what's interesting is that the definition of empath often relates to this phrase. And the phrase is, I'm an empath, therefore I take on the energy of others. But the empath doesn't, from an empowered place, does not need to take on the energy of others. That's what we call overly empathic. Overly empathic means that I have this energy field around the outside of my body, and energy has crossed over that field into my body, and I am feeling or carrying that energy. And there are ways in which we can hold our energetic boundaries so that we're not taking that energy on into our energy system. But to know that and how to do that requires a deep understanding of our energy system, what's in your energetic body. So I'm going to start off first by saying that you don't have to identify as an empath to get something out of today. Out of listening to this. If you are sensitive, if you are intuitive, if you feel something, at this point, if you're a human being, we're all feeling something. And so you will get something out of this experience, whether or not you resonate with that term empath. And I wanted to share a little bit about my history as an intuitive healer and empath. And it's really interesting because I actually wouldn't have called myself an empath. Certainly, I started to understand more my empathic nature maybe in the past 4 or 5 years. But the truth is, I've been an empath my whole life. But it's not what I referred to in myself. I considered myself an intuitive and a healer. So it was only until I started to recognize that the amount of trauma that's surfacing in the collective, that's unearthing people's collective wounds and personal wounds, that I started to really recognize that there is an experience that's happening for people, and it's twofold. One is that, yes, there is energy surfacing in the collective and there's trauma in the field. And at the same time, there is a rise of power from within. There's a rise of intuition. People are waking up to their gifts, their sensitive gifts, and how we communicate in the world more through the sensory experience now. That's coupled with trauma surfacing on the field. And so this experience of becoming an empowered empath, or for me, in this process of understanding my role as an empath took me into a great deal of healing, trauma healing inside myself, and understanding what's going on an energetic level in the body. Why am I absorbing or feeling or over empathizing with the energy of other people and having a difficult time staying centered in myself? So, what I'm going to talk about, and I'll say some things about my history, and I'll talk a little bit about the energetic body. When I was a child, I was raised, I'm the oldest girl of a family in a family of seven siblings, 8 children in a big Italian Catholic household. I grew up in Connecticut, um, and I I was very sensitive. I was very intuitive, and I didn't have language for that back then. I felt everything. Could see, I could hear, I could know. I had really a strong, what I call now the four aspects of intuition: seeing, hearing, feeling, and knowing. I had all of those really activated very young, which to a small child is overwhelming. And when you don't have that container or reflection or feedback that this is what's going on for you, Wendy, and you're okay, and there isn't someone modeling that level of emotional responsibility and understanding of the sensitivity, then I'm increasingly having these experiences and shutting down to myself. If you can imagine in a big family, and if you're from a big family, you get this completely, that there's often the boundaries aren't exactly there. And in my family, there was a lot of like yelling and screaming and food passed around, and there weren't exactly, there was a lot of kids, and I didn't have much ground for myself back then. And I was also the oldest girl, which had me in a caretaking role very young. And to be honest, I was very good at it. As a really, there was the innate sort of healer in me, knew how to take care of people. And that was at a very young age. I developed weight pretty young, and then it kind of blew up, and physically, meaning I just gained a lot of weight. And then I developed depression and anxiety, and that escalated through my childhood. When I was 12, I went to work. We didn't have a lot, growing up. I paid for bills. We had water shut off, and the rent and things that just my father couldn't necessarily provide all the time when there was eight children. And so I went to work. I was babysitting, and I'd help pay for the bills. So I went from school to babysitting to homework at night, and rinse and repeat every day, which meant I didn't have much outlet, um, or I didn't have much decompression or childhood. And also I'm countering that by saying that I did have music, and I was a musician. I played the piano, and I really involved myself in music and theater also in any place I could, in school or wherever. That was an outlet for me. So I can't say I didn't have anything. I had lots in that case. But I had a lot of responsibility, and my anxiety increased to panic attacks. And by the time I was 19 years old, I had what I called back then a nervous breakdown. And essentially I went to the hospital. I was in college at the time, and I ended up um, having a complete, you know, nervous system meltdown, hyperventilated, etc. And out of that experience, I was trying to make a decision because there were two things happening. One was this oversensory panic, anxiety, overwhelm experience, coupled with this call from within that was saying, you need to move to Colorado. You need to get out of here. You need to go out west and move to Colorado. I was in school in Boston at the time. And to a 19-year-old, that's how old I was at the time, I felt that there was this immense calling for me to start a life, a whole new life. And then there was the pressure of, well, I'm in school and there's tuition and I can't leave. Here I am mid-semester in my third semester of college. And so that one night I was with after this breakdown I had, and I was with my roommate at the time in my dorm, and she said, I was trying to decide, do I stay or do I go? And so we said, let's go for a walk. Let's just go for a walk and we'll talk about this. Do I leave school mid-semester and take care of myself in this way, or do I finish? So we go on this walk down Massachusetts Avenue and we take a left. And at the time there was a Tower Records on the corner, and we're walking down just a bit, and this man approaches me and he's wearing a red jacket, carrying a ukulele, and he says, can I sing you girls a song for some spare change? And we said, no, that's okay. And he says, no, Wendy, you need to hear a song. And so he calls me by name. And then I look at him and he's got this horizontal glow around his head as if his whole head is in a glow. And then he's wearing this red jacket and he's just glowing. And at that point, I just went into a sort of a lock with him, like an energetic, this was in a energetic lock of attention, focus. He got down on one knee and he said, my name is Arius and I'm going to sing you a song. And he sings this song, Home on the Range where the buffalo roam. One day you're going to get to Colorado. And he had no idea what we were talking about. And he says, Wendy, it's not your time to go yet. Hang in there a little bit longer. You're going to get there. And he stands up and he gives me a kiss on the cheek and vanishes behind me. And my roommate and I look at each other and look back, and the guy is completely gone. And she goes running off into Tower Records and try to see where he went. It was literally a split second. He was gone. And I'm standing there on the street in Boston having this complete energetic transmission healing there on the street in Boston. And my anxiety healed. I mean, from that point on, I was giddy. I was full of light. I was full of joy. I had the stamina to complete that semester. I'm fast forwarding the story a little bit, but I ended up finishing the semester and then moved to Colorado, and I started this life. And what had happened to me, and again, I'm fast forwarding a bit, is that I ended up finding a healing teacher who could help me understand my gift. And when I turned to understand that I'm not crazy, there isn't something wrong with me, but I am deeply intuitive and I have a healer gift that needed to be seen and developed, then I started to understand that my overly empathic and overly sensitized experience of life could shift, not only because I had more tools and more awareness, but because there was more of me inside myself, more of me grounded inside myself to take up that space in my body where I was absorbing energy. And so that put me on the path of becoming a healer. And by the time I was 30, there was no social media or anything like that at the time. I had 500 clients from word of mouth, and then they wanted to understand how to do what I do. Eventually, I started the Intuitive Healer Training Program and then the School of Intuitive Studies, and wrote some books. I teach for the Shift Network, and fast forward, here we are. So my process in understanding a lot of those younger years in my 20s, I was really immersed in yoga and yoga philosophy and understanding the energetic system and learning it. And that has aided in my understanding of the empathic experience of people, what happens in our energy body. So here's what I want to explain. Empaths are highly developed in the second chakra area of their body and the third chakra area of their body. They have strong second and third chakras inherently. And that means, so second chakra is in the pelvis, third chakra is in the solar plexus region. Those power centers are the empathic power centers. We might think it's the heart, and sure, we'd absolutely feel a lot in the heart. But the reason why we become overly empathic, it has everything to do with what is occurring at the base of the body from the third chakra down. The upper chakras relate more to our clairvoyance or our clairaudience. And clairvoyance is the ability to see and perceive and have high perception and to see energy or connect to spirits or to that mediumship skill, for example, is more of a upper chakra intuitive, or the clairaudient sense, which is hearing messages, hearing words, songs that come through. That's clairaudience, receiving messages, or having that ability to be very effective, and I'm going to use the word downloading communicator, someone who channels their high genius in communicating. That's our clairaudient sense. And then our claircognizant sense lives in the heart and in the lower body, and that's our knowing sense or our deep callings. But the empathic sense is very specifically the lower chakras. And I'm going to explain why that is and what happens as to why we absorb the energy of other people and how we can stop. So, when we are souls and we are forming into a human being in the womb, we're marinating in the sac, we're in the womb space, we're in the water element. And that essentially is the very first sense that develops in the womb is the empathic sense that we feel energy around us and we take everything in through the sensory experience. And absorption is part of that learning experience. We learn by internalizing and absorbing as we're forming as humans, as human beings. When we're born into the human experience, what happens in the energetic system, and it has to do with the chakras. So we have these 7 embodied chakras. Actually, one's not in the body, it's a little higher up, the 7th chakra. And I talk about this in my book. So I won't go in detail into the chakras, but to say that if you get my book, you'll learn a little bit more about them. But the root chakra area of the body, which is in the tailbone, relates to our survival and our bonding and our ability to be attached and belonging here and safe and secure. And it has everything to do with our survival programming. And so that power center holds a tremendous amount of programming and information from 0 to 7 years old. So when we're born into the human experience, we're in this root chakra consciousness. And while we were in the womb marinating, in childhood, we're also marinating in the consciousness of the system we are raised in. That might be the family system plus the religious system, the cultural system, the school system, the system of your country, all the different systems that you might have been raised in that have formed you, that have shaped you. That's root chakra consciousness. And in those systems and in our root chakra, we start to develop the sense of belonging and safety and bonding and attachment. And so energetically here, we are developing our sense of safety in ourselves. Unless we are raised in environments where safety was compromised on some level, and it was very difficult to bond or attach. What that can look like is that there could be trauma, there could be projection of emotion, there could be a lot of fear, there could be high expectations, there could be a loss, there could be abandonment, there could be a lot of things. There could be alcoholism, there could be a lot of different human experiences that happen not just for you, but for the parents and the caregivers in your life and in your world that would influence the formation of your root chakra and how well you would bond and attach to yourself. In that root chakra marinating time, 0 to 7 years old, you start to absorb and internalize the belief systems based on what the system believes, the family system or any of the other systems I've mentioned. So if the family system believes we don't talk about our personal stuff, we don't talk about anything, we don't share our feelings, children are meant to be seen, not heard, obey me, and we start to develop these and internalize these belief systems that keep us bonded and attached to the tribe or the family of origin, but disconnect us from our own sense of self. Then at that point, what ends up happening is that the root chakra starts to contract. And the root chakra contracts at the tailbone because we are absorbing fear about belonging and about attaching and bonding and feeling safe in who we are and being grounded and connected here. And that who we are and on a deeper sense of self is not okay. We don't fit the mold or whatever it might be, whatever that messaging is. We start to develop a disconnection here at the root chakra level. And here's what's important about the root chakra is the root chakra is the gateway to your grounding cord. Your grounding cord is the pathway of energy, the line of energy from the base of your body down to the center of the earth. I often see it like a tree trunk or a pillar into the center of the earth, and it sprouts roots. Well, if the root chakra is contracted, then there is not earth energy. There's no earth energy moving to the base of your body, which starts this pattern of being inherently ungrounded, not connected. At the root chakra level, we have disconnected from the earth frequency and we are not grounded. And this root chakra contraction that happens, while we can make it wrong, it helped us survive in the family system or the life systems we were raised in. So we had to contract for survival in order to belong. But here's what happens for empaths. A sensitive little being that is absorbing the consciousness, but comes into the world with a strong second chakra, and second chakra is in the pelvis. It relates to caretaking and sensuality and creativity and passion and our ability to feel our feelings and go with the flow and lean back into trust and the serendipitous experiences of life. And these are all aspects of our second chakra power. It's feminine in nature, no matter your gender. So this power center's job is to be in tuned on an energetic level underneath the table. It feels the subtle. That's its innate power. It's one of them. So the root chakra contracts, and that means that the second chakra now has no life force, no sourcing from the chakra beneath it. So it's going to expand. It's going to open up. And in that opening up, it might also contract, but either way, the result is the same. This power center, this sensory area of the body, starts to feel what everyone else is feeling around us, around them, so that they can track, so that they can figure out how to maneuver in the space, how to meet the needs, so that people are okay, so that peace is kept, and they learn through their energy body how to energetically caretake the adults or the people in their environment on an energetic level at the expense of their own sense of self. We call this hypervigilance. The root chakra contracts, the second chakra opens, and now the empath is hypervigilant in how they are taking care of energy outside of them in order to stay safe inside them. So if I meet mom and dad's needs, if the emotions are volatile or there's emotional instability or projection of emotions in the space and the adults aren't owning it, the child will learn how to adjust their behaviors accordingly to stabilize the situation. This level of hypervigilance that occurs becomes an ingrained pattern that empaths repeat throughout their life with energy, not just with people. They'll go out into the world and pay attention on an overly empathic or hypervigilant level to be heightened awareness of what's going on around them, because the deeper programming within is saying you have to do that to stay safe. That is all we've ever known. And so the body does it, and it's not the head and it's not the heart. It's the second chakra in the pelvis that's doing this, because there isn't enough deeper sense of safety and belonging and grounding in the root chakra. Then the third chakra, also a power center that is highly sensitive. It's the gut brain. It feels instinctually. It supports the third chakra. Its power is the ability to stay in our center. It's the ego consciousness. It's the I am. It's the confidence and willpower and the fire and being productive. It's masculine in quality. It's the ability to put ourselves out there and manifest. Well, this power center also instinctually navigates our environment and our social environments so that we know how to organize ourselves in those social constructs. And what happens here is that if my second chakra is now hypervigilant, the third chakra, another empathic power center, also opens up. And what we learn to do, if the root chakra is contracted and there isn't enough prana, life force energy going through the grounding cord of the body, or earth coming up to the body, there isn't this vertical cord connecting us to life force in the earth. Instead, what will happen is the solar plexus will open up and we will cord out the front of us to look for stability, safety, a way to stay grounded and survive. And we cord to whatever attachment is external, whatever's going to keep us safe. This relationship, that job, this car, that house, whatever it might be, that is an external attachment that creates safety and security, that's going to help us ground and tether to this earth. We will cord to and invest our sense of self in that to stay grounded here on this earth, instead of grounding through the lower chakras of the body, instead of grounding through the grounding cord. The reason empaths take on the energy of other people is because there is a profile going on in these first three chakras of the body where there might be programming happening. There might be history here, deep subconscious fears that need to be healed and cleared and released down your grounding cord, out of your root chakra, out of your body. Because what happens for the empath is that empathic child, even, is that, or us as children, is that when we disconnect from the root chakra, our spirit actually elevates higher in the body. Our third chakra opens up, second chakra is hypervigilant, heart starts to race, the head. We can be really in our heads. If it doesn't make sense, I don't understand it. We get very disconnected from our deeper sense of self and knowing in the body. And so we don't know whose energy is whose, and we're living higher up in the body. And this is the way our soul takes care of itself when there has been a root chakra contraction. But when we do that, when our soul elevates higher in the body, we vacate these lower power centers. And at that point, we just send a signal out to the universe that I'm open here. I can take it. The energy, I'm not embodied. I'm not owning these power centers. So someone else's energy will. And so we start to absorb energy. We start to take it in. We start to attract the same people in our lives that need caretaking. And that's not because of them. That might be because there is an intrinsic place inside your body, a way of learning that to survive, your second chakra needs to take care of other people energetically and take that energy in. So, what do we do about this, empaths? How do we re embody? How do we take our power back in our first, second, and third chakras? First of all, I want to point out again, if you please, I'm saying this not to just say my book is great, but there are resources inside my book, Becoming an Empowered Empath, that guide you through meditations to take you into these lower chakras to clear the energy. Here's what's important to know. Grounding yourself is a practice. Visualizing your grounding cord from your hips down into the center of the earth and grounding your body in that way is a daily practice. Daily practice. You have to do it every day for it to work, to really feel it. But unfurling the root chakra is an iterative process. It requires you to breathe into the subconscious fears you've been holding that maybe weren't yours to begin with. Just keep in mind on this, we cannot digest energy that isn't ours. It will just stay in the field. It will linger somewhere in our body undigested. It's not meant for us to process. So you have to clear it. If you exhale down your grounding cord from your root chakra, you can start to release energy that doesn't serve you, that isn't yours anymore. Maybe it was, maybe you needed it. It wasn't negative at the time. It helped you survive and bond. But maybe as a spiritually progressing soul in this body, maybe you don't need it anymore. Maybe it's time to move it through. In my book, I guide you through root chakra clearing work and all that manifests there in the root chakra. For your second chakra, empaths, it's so important that you feel your feelings, that you don't just think about them, but you really feel them, that you know what your anger feels like. You know what your grief feels like and your shame feels like and your fear. You know what these feel like, that you give yourself permission to feel those feelings. It's very important that you do that you have that permission to feel and you let yourself feel them. Because if we don't, and keep in mind, the childhood pattern was we have to feel other people's feelings and meet their needs or stabilize the environment in some way. But for children, for you have some reparenting to do, perhaps to the younger self that needs to feel the truth of how you feel. Because once you understand your feelings, you increase your capacity to let other people have their feelings. And you retrain your energetic body to say, that is theirs to feel. And it's okay. It's okay that they have a feeling. It's not my problem to fix. And I'm okay if they have a feeling because I'm okay if I have feelings. That is second chakra healing. It's a version of it, it's one aspect of it. When we start to really let ourselves and give ourselves permission to have the feelings, we anchor in, we take a seat in our second chakra area of our body and we embody there. We sit in the throne in that area and anchor ourselves in. So as you allow your first chakra to let go of deep fear and gently unfurl, and your soul to sit deeply there and embody in your second chakra, first and second chakras, then what ends up happening is any energy that's spilling out the front of your gut or solar plexus region, third chakra, you can pull it back in. I'm calling all of my energy back in. I'm letting energy out that doesn't serve me out of my solar plexus. All the energy that I'm taking in from the world, I am letting it go. Now, you could do that at any time, but I will tell you that there's a difference between root chakra being contracted in the root and disconnected in the second chakra and constantly trying to clear your energy versus, okay, now I'm grounded, root chakra softening. I'm anchoring into the truth of my emotions. I'm real with how I feel. And now, from that embodied place, I am letting go of what is not mine. You're doing that from a different energetic place, a place of being centered, grounded, and connected to your sense of self. From there, you can do the same with your heart. If you feel you need to send energy back from your heart. The heart chakra and the upper chakras are very responsive to what these lower three chakras do, or what how they've absorbed, or what programming has formed in those areas. So as we heal the lower chakras, the heart chakra actually shifts. It starts to settle. We become more centered and clear. And so it's very important, again, to tend to these lower chakras. There might be a great deal of healing that might need to happen in the first three chakras of the body for you as an empath to root yourself, to seat yourself deeply in those chakras. In my book, I go through different meditation practices to take you in, because we can't go in through the frontal lobe of the brain. We have to go in through deeper subconscious journeying into these power centers. So another awareness tool, empaths, that I want to give you in your empowerment is that the front body is where we engage in the world. Empaths, the important awareness is that you do take in a lot of energy through your front body. So it's important to know that you have a back body and you have the light of grace that flows down like a shower to you, and you can lean back into it like a waterfall and allow yourself to receive that light. Take it in through the back of your heart, the back of your body. Take it in and allow it to nourish the center of you. When we do that, we start to reconnect to self. So if you think about it this way, if I'm only living in the front half of my body, then the only way to source myself is through energy horizontally in the front of me. I have to, in order for me to source myself and shift this pattern, source myself in a healthy way and shift this pattern, we need to vertically connect. And that means allowing the light of grace in to allow yourself to source. And then you can pull your energy back. You can ask at that point for a bubble of light around you for protection so that you can stay centered and embodied in your own body. One of the other tools I talk about in my book is the central channel, and how energetic boundaries come from the radiance of our central channel. Central channel health comes from grounding, comes from clearing energy and healing in our lower chakras and anywhere else in our system, and creating more sense of radiance from that central channel. And that increases our ability to be present in our body. And that presence is radiance. And so if we're putting a bubble of light around us, but we're not radiating, or we're not doing the deeper grounding and healing work, then the the bubble is kind of a band-aid. It'll last for a period of time, but it won't do the deeper work. And so it's important that we're using these tools in combination, not just a bubble of light and not doing the deeper healing or clearing and allowing more presence and radiance through your body. That's important to do. So these are tools that you can be working with empaths in your empowerment. And what an empowered empath looks like is that the empowered empath knows themselves. They know their center. They feel energy, but they can differentiate their energy from other people's energy. They are inherently, one of their powers is their vulnerability and their truth saying and their need to connect more deeply with people, not really surface dwellers. They're not the how's the weather conversation. They want, if they ask, how are you? They want to know, how are you? They get underneath the surface a bit, and they are powerfully deep connectors. They are also healers. They are people that people feel safe with. They are connected communicators. They are emotional communicators, meaning they know how to uh, think about from an empathy perspective, think about other people in their communication. For example, I understand that this might be upsetting to you, and I do have empathy for that. And I need to let you know that I'm not going to be able to, fulfill this need that you have. And I'm so sorry. But what if we try this solution instead? They have a way of recognizing what the other person might be experiencing. They do feel energy. They feel energy, and they are part of the global shift of moving us further towards the we consciousness, because they care about people. They feel things, they understand where people are, they understand the deeper matrix of human beings, and they understand that we heal power in numbers, we shift consciousness power in numbers, and we come together in doing our own work as empaths. We are working together as a collective to help raise consciousness on this planet. They are deeply intuitive, very intuitive beings. And what I would recommend for you in your empowerment and your gift as an empath is that you trust your intuition, because your intuition is guiding you to the deeper knowing of you, your deeper soul. And it might have been to survive, you needed to override your intuition, again, to prioritize other people's needs and feelings to survive. But you don't need to do that. What's important as an adult who is an empath is that you deeply tune in and listen, feel, sense, or know yourself more deeply. The more you do that, the more you will build capacity and resources within to tune into yourself and not override you to so that other people's energy are more dominant. You can, empaths who are overly empathic can prioritize other people because they get blown away. This would help you radiate, staying connected and tuned into your intuition. Feel it, sense it, feel it in your lower chakras, feel it in your heart. Maybe you receive it higher up like a download. Test different areas of your body of where you might be listening or feeling or sensing your intuition in your body. Empaths, you have a critical role here on this earth. You are shifting consciousness. We need you because you are the deeper connectors. We've already been living the patriarchal paradigm where it's about fear and dominance and suppression and oppression. And it is the empaths that are rising and saying, this is not okay, and I can no longer tolerate what is unjust. And so the empaths are part of the heart consciousness that is shifting us in this massive cultural and collective spiritual evolution that we're going through as a species. I hope this supports you. If you are looking to find my book, it's on most online retailers. So you can Amazon, wherever, Barnes and Noble. Becoming an Empowered Empath: How to Clear Energy, Set Boundaries, and Embody Your Intuition. I also run the School of Intuitive Studies. If you're interested in training as a healer, you please check out my intuitive healer training program. We do interview students for that program. So you can go to my website, schoolofintuitivestudies.com, and find that page. You can apply to the program. And I'm also on wendyderosa.com. So those are places to reach me, and also social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, all of those. You can like those, follow me there. I often post a lot of different things. So more to come. I hope this supports you, and many blessings. And we will see each other, connect with each other again soon.